Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Final Fantasy Randomizer Road to SpeedGaming Live 2020 event. I'm Kurant, and I'm joined here in the booth with my co-com, Professor Renderer. How are you doing, Professor?
I am doing very well. Thank you very much for asking.
So what we have here tonight is the 5th qualifier for the SpeedGaming Live tournament. There are going to be 10 qualifiers. You have to race at least 3 and up to 5, and this is week number 5. We have 9 people racing total in this competition tonight, so it should be a lot of fun. We've got obviously 4 folks restreamed and then 5 others off stream. Our restreamed racers are Dingwoo, Caleb, Life Reboot, and Elastoid, so I am looking forward to a fantastic competition tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody around.
Yeah, I'm looking very forward to this one too. I've never seen Elastoid be one of the many community members who actually helped me out during my initial time there.
Yeah, it's a lot of these runners that are racing tonight are really good, and they have done a lot, I think, to foster this community on top of obviously racing themselves. So yeah, it's a good show from everybody. I think it's going to be a grand old time tonight. And we should have our runners getting started pretty shortly. They are racing on a delay, so technically they've started, but on stream, we're waiting for them to officially drop and get going. We have Caleb's eggs ready to hatch, as usual. And we'll probably see his backwards walking as we go along as well.
I found that really funny when I was watching one of the qualifiers with Caleb on it too. It was just those eggs just walking around. It's just very funny. The ability to mod this game is really fun too, and we're underway now.
All right, yeah, so we're underway. The flags, generally speaking, are pretty standard. All right, so I see a lit 2 on the black magic side, and let's see what's over on white magic. Let's see, decent. Ruse is good, especially for looks like everybody in our crew have fighters, so they'll be able to get that on their knights, assumedly. And so yeah, looks like a good start. They've got a sweeper. They have decent equipment at the shops, but it's still a pretty decent start. Not the greatest start in the history of mankind, but it's certainly not the worst.
Yeah, what I also noticed from one of our black magic too, there was also Zap, one of our power words.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can definitely come in handy as well if you want to, say, take down Garland pretty quickly, and or if you find yourself in a pinch in that sort of situation. Well, it looks like everybody's taking the first steps over toward Temple of Fiends. Life Reboot has made his way in there and is going to go ahead and loot. Meanwhile, a couple of others are having some maybe not so much fun dealing with those imps going up there. Alright, so it looks like Life Reboot's going to hit those other 2 treasure chests, and, well, Dragon Sword, decent for the beginning of the game as far as weapons go. Nothing super splendid, but hey, sometimes it rolls that way. See, Caleb going ahead and taking on Garland immediately, and Life Reboot is right behind him. And Zap does what Zap does and takes Garland into the 5th dimension. And so we have ourselves a rescued princess. Alright, so the king has the bottle and Sarah has the canal. So we have ourselves, well, at least a little bit of an easier path out of the inner sea once they get the ship.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed too is that the dialogue was changed a bit to show some of the original text as well.
Yeah. Oh, I also see a tail at the item shop here, assumedly in Canaria. Yeah. So there's our vendor item immediately.
Very quick. Well, we're still not entirely ready to get over to that class change. We still need that floater.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still good to see that, though, because at the very least, if you're the runners, you know where that vendor item is now, and so you don't have to check the item shops as much. That can avoid a fair bit of running around, say, particularly in a place like Elfland, where the item shop is seemingly on the other side of the universe. Apologies. So yeah, you like to see that vendor item early, and you also like to see it fairly cheap. I mean, 6,700 is pretty modest price for the vendor item. So that's good to know. Good to have that knowledge as we see our runners taking on the bridge boss, and Caleb gets a vanilla ship from Vicky.
Is this even randomized?
Well, they claim it is. I mean, I'll trust them with a few things. I see some gold bracelets over in Provoca, 30,000, which obviously is sort of out of our runners' budgets right now, but again, that's also a good thing to know the existence of, especially for your mage types. Meanwhile, Dangwu is pillaging Matoya's cave and finds a silver knife and some money and a place to stay for the night, so nothing special, but it's still good to have that knowledge at the very least. Let's see, Lit 3 and Quad X in the Black Magic shop over in Provoca, and White Magic has, Cure 2. So better on the Black Magic side, really, than the White Magic side this time.
Yeah, that Lit 3 is very cheap.
Oh yes, that's definitely something you want to see if you have Black Mages, or Red Mages, really, because that's useful for both of them. So have yourself a nice powerful sweeper spell for not very much money. Alright, so our runners are setting off to sail the high seas, and it looks like, I'm thinking Caleb is probably going to, well, I thought he was going to take a jog over to Matoya's, but maybe not. I guess he was sort of psyching me out a little bit. But yeah, these flags, while we've got runners running around grabbing ships, these flags are pretty simple flags, generally speaking. We have no loose items in the flags today, so you're not going to see a whole lot of chest checking, I would imagine. You have the elemental dungeons. The fire dungeon does not have the incentivized item, but all the others are in their usual places. You have marsh incentivized, but not marsh lodge. So it's the usual marsh chest that has an incentive item in it. So we're going to see the runners make a marsh play, which is kind of something we usually see them avoid. But this time they're going to need to if they want to, well, maybe find an item that could very much help them out.
Caleb saw that there was cake over in the Elfland shop.
Yeah, he decided to buy it because why not? I mean, cake strats are definitely nice to pull off as a little bit of a swag move if you're able to do so. Oh, hello, Cure 4. Good for the white mages, but not really for much of anybody else.
There's also Brack over on the level 4 shops.
That can be useful too, especially against Kraken and Tia. So I expect we'll probably see our runners pick that up as well. Alright, so Caleb sashaying his backwards walking way over to Marsh Dungeon, and we will see what it has in store. It looks like he's going straight for that incentive pretty quickly because he went south in the Marsh split, so no big surprise there, really. Especially because I have not seen Warp or Exit, so they want to go diving for that incentive as soon as possible. And, with no loose items, you don't really prioritize running around the whole of Marsh Dungeon all that much. Meanwhile, Life Reboot did a quick check of the dwarf chests just in case there was anything good in them, and not really. There was $50 in the cabin, so he promptly reset back out. It'll be interesting. I think with Lit 3, the monsters here are, at least doable for low-level parties, but it can still be a little bit of a problem, especially since there's so many different enemy types, and you've got all those lovely little attacks that they can throw at you should they so desire. So it'd be interesting to see how the runners handle that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But so far, Caleb's making fairly decent, good enough work for these encounters here.
Yeah. See, Life Reboot is making his way over toward Crescent Lake to get his item from the old men, and we'll see if that item. I mean, they have the canal, but they don't have, say, the canoe or any other kind of travel accessories. So either, what Caleb finds in Marsh or what Life Reboot finds in Crescent Lake, it's likely going to be one of those travel aids that they need, probably the canoe, unless they want to have themselves a cheeky little Earth dip early on.
And get the crystal from off of the incentivized marsh.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if Caleb goes ahead and decides to turn that in now. Because, I mean, it would be a bit of a hike, but if that bit of a hike can get you, say, 1/2 of the canoe floater combination, and then, speaking of canoe, there it is in Crescent Lake. So if that gets you 1/2 of the combination, and then you obviously get the canoe from Crescent Lake, then you could be up in the air pretty quickly. But obviously we'll see what he chooses to do. So I'm curious to see how Life Reboot is going to play this, because he knows that Marsh is incentivized and has his canoe, so that obviously opens up going to the volcano, which is not incentivized, or going to ice, which is. So I'll be curious to see how he decides to play this. He may be going for some early levels, and then, yeah, I think he's going for early levels off that hard reset, or maybe off the reset, to try to get some levels on his fighters and be able to gallivant off to wherever he chooses. Meanwhile, it looks like Elastoid is also headed toward Marsh, and Life Reboot is continuing to go after those trolls, get that experience, especially using that Quad X spell to very good effect. That will serve to get some levels very quickly. Dingwu picking up his crystal from Marsh Dungeon, and is going to go ahead and, I guess, take a look at the rest of the chests before he swings his way out of there. Looks like Caleb is headed back to Elfland to go ahead and rest and get everything back in play here. Now that he has some more money, he can buy some cake for his mages. And he is going to take that cake and, I guess, serve it to some monsters in a little bit. Alright, so it looks like Caleb is going to go ahead and turn in that crystal, because he is headed a little bit east from Elfland. So yeah, he's going to go ahead and have a chat with Matoya and see what happens when her vision is dutifully restored. And like I said, perhaps it could be one of those travel items, but obviously now that we've seen the canoe is at Crescent Lake, that opens up, well, a whole crap ton of other possibilities that it could end up being. Alright, so let's see, looks like Life Reboot is continuing his grind, and Caleb finds the cube, courtesy of the crystal. So, not something that you would need immediately. Still nice to have, though. Alright, looks like Elastoid is looting chests in Marsh, as is Dingwu. About to make his exit, I would suspect. And I imagine Caleb, now that he's finished Marsh, will probably be headed over to Crescent Lake to find that canoe as well. Or, as chat points out, possibility that he might dive Earth and grab the item in there, which is also certainly a possibility. And it could be kind of a bold move, and that might pay out, but I don't know. We shall see. So, looks like Dingwu is able to successfully make his way out of Marsh Cave and be able to gallivant off with his crystal. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it, see if he goes Caleb's route of immediately turning it in, or going ahead and checking Crescent Lake before doing that. Meanwhile, looks like Life Reboot is content with his grind, and be interested to see where he's headed. I think he might be headed back toward Earth, at least he's heading in that direction anyhow. So we will see if either of these runners are going to go ahead and make an early Earth dive. I think that's where Life Reboot is headed. And we'll see if Caleb decides to do that. He may very well be doing that as well. Or at the very least, just checking Melman to see what kind of magic that they have. Alright, so let's see. Level 5 White has Invis 2, Life 2, and Exit. Holy crap, that is one stacked magic level. And then level 5 Black Magic has Nuke and Lock 2, and Warp. So, ladies and gentlemen, your magic needs tonight are provided by the level 5 Magic Fiends in Melman. So, enjoy your spells that you're not going to be seeing the Knight or the Ninja learn ever. And you're not going to be seeing the Red Wizards use. Well, you'll see them use, I think Nuke will be usable. As for the rest of it, a little more difficult to say. But still, level 5 super stacks today, so holy mackerel. And looks like Caleb is indeed diving Earth.
One thing to point out that you might have missed when Life Reboot was making its way through Crescent, Fade was at level 6, Temper was also at level 6, but I believe that is locked from Red
Yes,
Mage.
thank you very much. That, by the way, is Shadowed Flames, our tracker for tonight. And yeah, that chat had indeed pointed out that Temper was locked out for Red Mages and Red Wizards, which is not fun, given that I see, I mean, obviously we've got 2 parties that I can tell right off now have Red Mages, and I believe all the parties have them, maybe at least one, but we'll see once we get Dangwu and Caleb's party compositions in a moment. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. I see Caleb is going to go ahead and turn in that crystal, and of course we know that that has the cube. Okay, so yes, Caleb does have a Red Mage as well, so that's not going to be good news to see Temper locked out, but unfortunately dims to breaks sometimes. And it would appear that Life Reboot has headed into Earth as well. Is going to go ahead and check out those trap tiles first to see if there's any better experience. And we see a giant iguana tile to start out with. Fortunately, Quad X can do some nice work there and provide a decent experience.
I believe trap tiles in this flag set are vanilla, so you're in the Hall of Giants, and that's pretty much what you're going to run into.
Fair. So, a good source of experience. Caleb is going ahead and taking on Vampire, who tries to back row his Black Mage and very nearly does it. But Harm 2 doing Harm 2 things, the Vampire goes down in a fit of, I guess, Vampire Peak. And we will see in a moment what is in that box. It is the Adamant. So we have ourselves another fetch quest item, and it's time to do the Walk of Shame out of Earth dungeon with that Adamant. Alright, it looks like we've got just about everybody kind of on the road a little bit here. Dingwu and Life Reboot are sailing around. Elastoid is doing some stocking up over in Elfland, and Caleb is doing the Walk of Shame out of Earth. Unfortunately, the runners aren't really at levels at this point where there would be charges, I assume, of level 5, so it's you can't really use that warp yet, sadly, and then you can't use that exit either, so just means you gotta leg it a little bit. And so some of the runners, I think, might put off any sort of an earth check until they're able to get levels for warp and exit, at least those who know about it at this time. Let's see, Dingwu's side, I see some XPs who poke their heads out of the ground, so I'm sure he will happily take advantage of that. And does indeed, and well, gets his folks up to level 9, so nice little bump in experience to make sure everybody's good to go there. Looks like Life Reboot is doing some shopping among the level 4 stuff in Elfland, and saw that Cure 4, of course. As well as Brack, which he will go ahead and pick up for, looks like a couple of his Light Warriors. Pretty good move. Brack can be a nice reliable source of quick killing if you have the fiends that will bow to it.
And it's always fun to be able to brack up the Kraken and the Tiamat if you manage to get lucky on those rolls.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, that's a very good feeling when you see that broken into pieces tagline there as the fiend fades into little wooden or little stone chunks. Alright, so let's see. Life Reboot is headed, I would presume, toward, I would think, Ordeals, most likely, given that's heading straight south. And that's a pretty good way to go about it. Go ahead and stock up in Elfland and make sure you've got everything taken care of. Then just go ahead and head south, and Ordeals is right there. You can slip into the river system and just basically be right at the place.
Alright, I'm back now. Apologies for that. I had to deal with some personal issues.
No worries. We've just been chit-chatting about how the seeds have gone. The level 5 magic was apparently the magic shop for freaking everything. You had nuke, warp, exit, just about your life 2 I think was also there. Invis 2 was there as well. So just about everything the doctor ordered as far as magic was at level 5, which is unfortunate that it was all at level 5 because then you got to sort of choose your favorites, but it's still pretty good all in all. So we've got Life Reboot is running around ordeals, and the rest of our runners are turning in various key items like the crystal, and the adamant came out of the Earth dungeon as Caleb showed us, so he was about to go turn that in. And we'll see if that yields anything lovely as far as progress is concerned. Alright, so the adamant turns into another fetch item, the crown, which, I mean, at least good news on that is you're already there, so you can just sort of go back to your ship and find yourself, just go a little further south. Well, canoeless, you got to go a fair bit further south, but at least you're in the area. Alright, let's see. So, it looks like Life Reboot is kind of pushing his way through the ordeal's pillar maze, which can be a real pain in the butt, but he got some darn good guesses, it looks like, and made his way through pretty quickly, so good job to Life Reboot on that front. Meanwhile, Dingwu has found the font of power for his early level light warriors with 4 XPs on the world map. That's some pretty spicy XP early on. And now, in a moment, we will have the moment of truth, I suppose, as far as what the Ordeal's chest provides, and hopefully it'll be a nice spicy item. Well, it's a spicy key.
Just want to jump in real quick and point out, in case it was missed, Life Reboot may have a reason to keep the thief alive once he class changes to ninja. There was a katana in Ordeals.
Oh boy, so we got ourselves a super sword. Holy mackerel. Yeah, that's definitely good news for any thief that any of our party members have, which I think he might have been the only one to take a thief. I certainly didn't notice very many of them. Yeah, it looks like he was the only one on stream to take a thief, so that's definitely a nice weapon find there. And it looks like Dingwu is making some hard magic choices, because he doesn't have the money for all that magic, but, well, gotta make a choice.
Especially when you gotta consider that this is our level 5, and it's gonna be a tough decision to make.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Caleb turns in the crown, gets to the TNT, and because we have not shuffled Ostos around, the kindly king is right on the throne where he belongs, and he gets quad X'd into oblivion. Whoops. So now we know where both of our dwarf items are. And so it'd be interesting to see what the TNT yields. I have a feeling Caleb is probably shaking his head because the adamant became the crown, became TNT, so the dwarves just... I don't know. I mean, I guess they got so tired of their key items, they just kind of took them and threw them across the river, and Astos just decided to pick them up for his own. Meanwhile, Life Reboot is pillaging Corneria Locked, which is one of the incentivized locations, and finds the slab waiting there, so that's not a bad place to find it either, because you can just sail over, and Melmond is right there on the way. So, saves you a little bit of travel time.
Oh, for sure.
So chat speculating that the TNT may very well become the ruby for the giant. Now, it is worth noting that Titan's Trove itself is not incentivized on this flag. However, of course, you can always go have a chat with good old Sarda, so that will very much open up that check if that is indeed the case, and we will find that out in just a moment, thanks to the ever-obliging Caleb. And it is the floater! So it is air access, at least for those who are canoed. according to the tracker, according to our wonderful tracker, Shadowed Flames, Caleb is the only on-stream runner who has not yet gotten his canoe, so, oh dear. Meanwhile, I see that Dingwoo has made his way into Ordeal, so he gets to have himself some fun navigating the Sky Maze.
Now, the good news about the floater is that now that we know about the tail, and that does mean that we will have our class change at the ready, and this will be especially good for Life Reboot because, like we mentioned before, that there was a katana, and it's the only one running with that thief.
Yeah. Now, kind of the question that we sort of have to ask ourselves now is, Caleb, of course, has the floater, but does not yet have the canoe, but he's about to get it because that's from Crescent Lake, so he's going to get that within about the next minute or two. How soon does anybody else dive Earth, considering that they have the canoe? Volcano's not incentivized, but Ice is, and obviously you also have Ordeals, so Caleb is very likely going to be the first one airborne, and I'll be curious to see how quickly anybody else is, given where the Adamant was. Yeah, chat pointing out that most others are probably going to be leaving Earth for last. I wouldn't at all be surprised. I mean, folks who maybe would have taken an early, or maybe were able to get Warp or Exit might be a little more incentivized to go about getting to go about going into Earth. But yeah, if you don't have easy access, especially to Exit, it's a rough walk for nothing. Well, without the rod, at least. Alright, so Caleb is about to get to Crescent Lake and find his canoe, and I have a feeling that once he gets that canoe, he will probably go over to the desert and pick up his airship faster than Jesse Owens could run the 40-yard dash. Finds out the news about Fate and Temper in the white and black magic shops in level 6. Oh boy. And now Elastoid is entered into Ordeals, so now at this point we're going to have 3 of our 4 runners having gone into Ordeals, and the 4th one being Caleb, who is about to get airborne, so oh boy.
Okay, so Caleb is going to be activating that floater around 26 minutes 5 seconds. He's in the air.
And it looks like his first move is going to be to do that bottle turn in, which is understandable given proximity and the fact that you already have it. Dingwoo unearthed that katana, and I mean, has to feel good about it at least because he can sell it. You know, money is good, especially for some of the higher spells.
And there's Dengwu's key.
And Elastoid's key. Oh! And the bottle had the ruby in it, which sadly is, given that Caleb has the airship, it's not really necessary this time. Sorry, Titan. You're probably not going to get your breakfast today. Oh, maybe you get your breakfast if the runners feel like it, but they don't actually have to do it since it's not incentivized this time.
Start up bringing up the Oxyale.
Alright, so that'll obviously, of course, give access to the Sea Shrine. And it looks like Caleb is going to go ahead and give the Titan his breakfast. Let's see. So, I mean, hey, at least he's going to go feed the Titan. Why not? Caleb is winning the hearts of chat for giving the Titan his breakfast.
You'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see if there's something good in there, even though it's not technically speaking incentivized. But it still could yield some nice treasure nonetheless. Especially for fighter, you could see a dragon armor. The Mazamune is one of the incentivized items, so it's going to be in one of these checks. But it could have been some good armor, something like that. Sadly, it was mostly just money, but oh well.
Money that we may take.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with money, but it's just a little disappointing when you go into a race and maybe you expect the Titan's Trove to be incentivized, because it has been so often in the flags that we've had, but it's not this time, unfortunately. I noticed, meanwhile, Dingwu is gallivanting through the waterfall, and I believe Elastoid was making his way up to it, although he's having some trouble with the local wildlife. Alright, so let's find out what the lovely robot has in store, since we know the robot is not going to transform into Ostos like he did in the, I believe it was the Iron Gull race that I was commentating on yesterday.
Is that actually a thing nowadays? I haven't been paying attention to Final Fantasy 1 as of late.
Yeah, it's one of the more recent changes to the randomizer. You can actually shuffle Ostos around. He can pop up in just about any of the usual kind of the incentivized NPCs. Yeah, he can be just about any of them nowadays.
That is actually really funny, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, I have a feeling one of the more humorous things we're going to be seeing from these seeds from here on out is a whole bunch of kind of, as I've put it, it was me, Dio sorts of moments. When suddenly it's Ostos, like, oh, he was there all along.
As a somewhat of a JoJo fan, that actually gave me a good smirk out of it.
Well, good. I actually know it from a... Oh, hi, Ribbon. Cardia provides today. It's interesting. I actually know that quote. I think it was pilloried in, I believe, it was one of the Nonary games. It was the second one. I don't remember what the name of it is offhand. But that's actually where I heard it, so...
Something's last virtue, whatever.
Okay, if that's the case, it's Virtue's Last Reward then, so VLR.
Virtue's Last Reward, yeah, that's what it was.
I couldn't remember if that was the second one or third one.
It is the second one. 9 persons, 999, and then it's Virtue's Last Hope, and then I believe it's...
Okay, fair enough. I can't remember the name of the third one either, so apologies to everybody.
Zero Time Dilemma.
There you go. Thank you, chat. And thank you also, Professor. Alright, so back to the real action. It looks like Cardia provided pretty well because it had one of our ribbons in it, and the waterfall reward was the chime, so the Sky access is complete. Caleb is going to go ahead and... Well, the tracker's showing he does not actually have the tail. That could be a slightly awkward conversation with Bahamut in a second. Ah, okay, so he did have the tail, alright. And he grows up! And his eggs become still eggs, but bigger, grown-up eggs at least.
They look like Yoshi eggs.
I know, right? Chat mentioning that Ostos has, in turns, become the king of Canaria and the princess. Yes, Ostos can infiltrate anywhere now. Meanwhile, Dengwu, it looks like, is obliging Team Sky, and is going to make a dash straight for, at the very least, the incentivized item in Sky Palace. It's kind of interesting, though, seeing the skipping of all of the chests in floors 1 and 2. Obviously, since there are no looses, there's not nearly as much incentive to go checking them. but I tend to overcheck my treasures in my randomizers, which is mostly why I lose them. So it kind of hurts a little bit to see all these treasure boxes being skipped. Although, like I said, I understand the motivation, and it's a smart move on the runner's part to not waste time checking all those chests. The chat also mentioning that Astos can repurpose himself as a robot. He can indeed. He can repurpose himself as dang near anything in the Final Fantasy randomizer world, except perhaps Chaos himself.
Honestly, that would be pretty scary, not gonna lie, to see Chaos just turn into an Astos, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Chaos suddenly be hanging out in Northwest Castle. Runners run across him at level 5 or 6 and like, oh my god! It looks like the Sky incentive was the incentivized ribbon, so we now know where that is. And obviously, we've of course seen another ribbon, so if you have 2 of those, well, you've pretty much got anybody that could conceivably cast good spells covered, or you could pop one on your fighter and another on your white mage, or just depending on how you want to do it. I will also mention Dingwu getting some dang good work out of Zap against those metal slimes. My heavens. Taking out 5 out of 6 with 1 spell cast. Can't ask for much better than that. Alright, looks like Life Reboot is hanging around in Earth Dungeon. Looks like he's going for the deeper dip, at least. And of course, we know that that's ultimately going to lead to lovely, glorious progress for him. Chad asking, where's the Warmech NPC shuffle? Well, I think Warmech Unleashed does a lot of that work by itself. I don't know if Warmech needs to be any more unleashed than that. Fortunately, the runners don't have to worry about that in these seeds. Warmech is vanilla, so... We see Dingwu taking the Bridge of Destiny. May very well mean himself a robot overlord, but we shall see momentarily.
Some airs that we're leaving.
Oh boy, it looks like that encounter hit his party pretty hard, having to use a lot of the heal pots he had. And Dingwu makes it through the Bridge of Destiny, and it's going to go ahead and take on Tiamat. So, looks like we've got... Let's see what strats he goes with here. He's going to go, it looks like, with Ruse to try to keep the heat off of his casters, and of course going to go with Brack strats with the Black Mage. And
broke into pieces.
First turn Brack. Dingwu with the swag.
And a very stylish first blood for Dingwu.
Absolutely. You can't ask for any better than that. My goodness. Oh boy, that's... like we were mentioning earlier, it doesn't get much more stylish than that. Alright, so Caleb has made it out of the waterfall with his cube, and looks like he is going to go ahead and head into Onrak and see what's available there, or maybe not see what's available there. He's just going to head straight for the mermaids and dive down into the Sea Shrine. Alright, so let's see. Dingwu is headed back to the Elfland area, and looks like he's going to navigate around to perhaps do some shopping or turning in. Life Reboot headed back into Earth Dungeon, and Elastoid is getting finished with some shopping and resting over in Melmond. So our runners are all over the place at this point, which is understandable given the way that we've seen some of these key items and checks end up shaking up. So it definitely makes for some variety on the part of our runners. It's good to see, because obviously all of these guys are really good, so you're going to see them come together at certain points, but it's nice to see kind of their thought processes as they go ahead and go to these various places. See, Dingwu is picking up all the level 5 magic that his little heart desires, which it's a lot of level 5 magic to pick up, so my goodness.
Oh, definitely. Because considering that we have pretty much the motherload of all good magic over here in Melmond, it makes a whole lot of sense for Dangwu.
Yeah. Also noticing that we had pro rings over in Melmond as well. Some pretty cheap pro rings too. I mean, it's not often you get them at $5,000. So definitely go ahead and pick them up for everybody. You don't have to ransack the treasure chests trying to find them. And that's a great thing to see. Especially since we already know where the gold bracelets are too. So you get those and your mages are, I mean, pretty much about as good to go as they're going to get unless you find an opal bracelet somewhere. And that is not in the incentive pool, so you'd have to be doing a lot of digging for it. Alright, so Dingwu going ahead and checking Canaria locked, and we know the slab is sitting there. So he will go ahead and pick that up as Life Reboot gets the adamant out of the Earth Dungeon, and is able to use a couple of casts of warp to make his exit a whole heck of a lot faster than what Caleb had to do earlier.
Yeah, and one thing we also kind of noticed too, and we did also, I believe this was mentioned already, but there was also a pro cape just sitting right next to that slab within Corneria locked.
Yeah, that's good too for your mages. I mean, it doesn't get quite as much publicity as the pro ring or the ribbon or gold bracelets, but pro capes are good things for your mages to be wearing because it gives some nice defense boost, and you know, obviously any survivability that they can get, they need. Notice Elastoid is taking on some steak over in the desert and is nuking his steak nice and brown. So unfortunately, the steak refuses to be cooked, it seems. There it goes. Eventually it goes down and gets some nice meaty experience for Elastoid's group.
I just saw a rod. That was on Caleb's side.
Oh, so yeah, that was in the Sea Shrine. Sea Shrine is one of the incentivized. So yeah, makes sense. That gets you obviously full access to Earth now. But if anybody waited to... Oh, hi, Vorpal Sword. If anybody waited to do Earth and isn't doing Earth until... I don't remember if the docks were available. I don't believe they were on this flag. Let me pan back down the flags and double check. So they may not have had the option to wait. Let's see. The northern docks were available. I just see that on the flag notes. So they could conceivably last location Earth, and oh boy.
That'll be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, we know it is. Obviously, they don't know it is, as Life Reboot finds the news that the TNT has become floaters, and he's going to go ahead and raid the chests in Keyloft anyway while he's here. But yeah, obviously we know that because, of course, we are the all-seeing commentators and all that razzmajazz. Hi there, Pro Ring. But I have to feel like if anybody, whether it's the on-stream runners or anybody off-stream who last locations Earth because of not finding that rod, oh, that's going to feel bad. Going to feel real bad when they get the rod, or when they get the adamant, and then they see that fetch turning into eventually the floater.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a big feels bad. But in the case of Life Reboot, because he does have that floater, he's pretty much not ready to get that ninja from the class change pretty sure you got the tail.
Well, if not, he knows where it is. You know, our tracker doesn't have it lit up, but he knows it's in the shop in Canaria, so that's an easy pickup once you get the floater and you get airborne. That is, of course, assuming, you know, I'm pretty sure that all these runners are keeping tabs and making sure that they remember where everything is. But if you happen to maybe miss out on it or not look at it, then, or not have it in your notes, then, oh dear. And chat pointing out that we're peeking at the notes of the omniscient tracker. Oh, we are indeed, when necessary. And obviously, much credit to Shadowed Flames, who is keeping track of all this madness for us. 4 people at a time is never fun to try to keep an eye on, much less to be able to push all the buttons for.
Okay, I did see the tail from Lifeboot's menu.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, if he didn't have it, he knew where it was. So it's an easy pickup, even if you don't have it already in your pocket. Alright, so I noticed Dangblue has made his way into the volcano, and Caleb is about to head on to take on a tentacled wonder.
Lifeboot now is in the air at around the 4408 mark.
Alright, so we'll ultimately see where his path takes him. He is likely headed over to Canaria to go ahead and get everybody growing up, and yeah, he heads straight for Bahamut. So no piddling around in the chest of Cardia, he's just going to go ahead and grow up.
And this will be an important class change for Life Reboot, because we mentioned this before, but we do have... The Life Reboot is the only one with running a thief in this lineup.
And that thief is now katana'd, and I think that thief was also dead. So he'll have to be undead pretty soon.
Which I'd imagine won't be too long.
Oh no, especially since we haven't seen where the Mazamune's located yet. And it is an incentivized item, so our runners will likely find it, but they haven't found it yet. So for now, your thief is likely your most potent damage dealer with that katana. At least in terms of melee, anyway. Well, it looks like we're going to have simultaneous Fiend fights as Dingwu engages Carrie and Caleb is getting ready to take on Kraken. So we've got Fade and Nuke and Swing Strats on Carrie. And it looks like for Caleb, we have Brack Strats, which, oh my goodness. Another first turn Brack. What is going on with this seed?
Good luck involved as Caleb has his first orb lit up.
And Dingwu has his second because even though Carrie didn't get Brack, she went down pretty quickly. So, my heavens. Brackstrat's doing some serious work today. Alright, looks like Elastoid has made his way out of the Sky Palace. I presume, well, I guess he made his way out to heal and get ready to dive back in. Meanwhile, Caleb picking up all that glorious level 5 magic, which, I mean, why would you not do it once you have the promoted party members and the money to exercise that wherewithal? Meanwhile, Life Reboot's about to turn in the slab and finds that Mass Immune in Lefane.
So there it is, the Mass Immune. So even more firepower for Life Reboot.
Yep, absolutely. And it's interesting that he's choosing, at least at this point in time, not to revive the ninja now that you have a ninja that is katana'd up. Maybe just waiting to get to one of the more preferable vanilla grind spots to revive the thief and get those levels. You know, try to kind of slingshot the thief as the Final Fantasy IV community would talk about such a thing. That's sort of psyching us out a little bit. I thought Life Reboot was about to go into ice and chose not to. Instead is flying over to grab Sarda's item. Dingwu is in Ice Palace, though, so is making his way over and grabbing the herb. It looks like it's going to do a little bit of an eye grind, which is understandable, given that you do have the vanilla trap tiles. It's a pretty good spot to get some relatively easy XP.
And by process of elimination, the herb will turn into the loot over at Elfland, and that'll be all of our key items known.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shadow. Appreciate it. So now that essentially we have a knowledge of where all of the key items are, well, we know that ice is definitely required because we do not have a shortened Topher today. They got to go through the whole kit and caboodle, and that means that they need the loot and the key to be able to do any of their dirty work against Chaos.
So in this case, we of course are in that no mode situation. Just need to see. Pretty much the question now becomes: when do you think one of these runners are going to get the necessary materials in order to, just get that herb and go straight over to the prince and get that loot?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it looks like Dingwu is going to go ahead and turn it in and get the loot, but he's still lacking air power. He hasn't gone and gotten the adamant yet, so he is sort of not really last locationing Earth exactly, but he's going and taking care of everything else first, which is understandable since double dipping Earth is not exactly anybody's idea of a good time. I guess it's still a thing with kind of what we know is what we know against what they know. Chad asking where the floater was. The floater was a fetch quest chain starting with the adamant, which was located in the Earth incentive chest, which turned into the crown, which then turned into the TNT, which then turned into the floater. So it was a lazy dwarf, or I guess an angry dwarf special, if you will, because they just threw their incentive items into the ocean and they floated to a couple of different places. And the first runner to find that chain was Caleb, who did his early Earth play, for which he is well renowned, and it turned out to pay off handsomely. Now, what is in large part keeping many of or at least two of our runners on stream from having done this, actually everybody but Caleb at this point, from having done this, is the rod is in mermaids. So that's a lengthy process to go through to get it, and I have a feeling it's kind of keeping some of the runners from going into early Earth and is thus keeping them away from that floater. So
I would imagine Caleb would be the one player to get over to where the herb is, and in that case, that will actually be one of our first people in Go mode.
yeah, well, I was going to say he's going into Volcano now. He's going after the Fiend dungeons, and maybe it looks like he's pretty comfortable with some of the levels that he has right now, which is understandable because he's already been able to take down Kraken with a well-timed Brak hit, and Lich went down so fast that I didn't even really notice him doing it. So chat pointing out that Lich ate some zap. So again, with the power words and the super spells. The key was in, let's see, I believe the key was in Ordeals, if I remember correctly. And the herb was the incentive item in Ice, which becomes the loot. So that's our fetch quests are basically doing some work today.
Yeah, this will be pretty much a big deal now, because in Caleb's eyes, pretty much the question really becomes, when will he ever go to Ice to get that herb?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's keeping track of everything, he knows full and darn well that, I mean, like I said, he's just missing the key and the herb and loot, and he knows, having turned in everything else, he knows the herb's going to become the loot. So It's just a question of remembering what locations he hasn't checked yet and checking them. So it's let's see. Dingwoo is taking on the vampire, who goes down to a fit of fade, and Caleb takes down Carrie with a well-timed nuke. So Caleb lights his third orb, and Dingwoo now has the adamant, which will open up his floater in due time. See, Life Reboot making his way over to the waterfall, which we know has the chime. So that'll complete the sky trick. And Chad asking, there's no incentive in Volcano. That is correct, yes. Volcano was turned off, as was Titan's Trove. And you had incentive items in Conaria locked and in Marsh normal. Alright, so it looks like Elastoid is taking on Tiamat and attempting the Brack strats that have worked so well for everybody else, but unfortunately they didn't work so well for Elastoid. He didn't get the Brack off first try or second. Oh, that's too bad. Tries it again, ineffective again, uses Bane's Sword, and that doesn't work either, sadly. It looks like he's going full on with Brack and Bane strats. Does not work this time. Brack is... there it goes. So not quite first turn Brack, but still, it's an Orblit at 54 minutes and almost 30 seconds.
I should point out, too, that Elastoid made it through the Bridge of Destiny without a single encounter at all.
Wow, that's some spicy RNG. And not just no robot chicken, but no chickens at all. You don't see that often.
So there's Dingwoo's floater.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to go ahead and check the keylock stuff as well. And I have a feeling he's probably fairly happy to see Pro Ring, although that was the best thing that you get in those chests. But still, it's an easy check and you got exit, so why not?
I do also see the tail over on Dingwoo's side, so he's primed and ready for a class change.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he has a party that will at least, benefit from it to some degree, because obviously you can then get spells on that night, and you can get more spells for that Red Wizard. Looks like Caleb is going ahead and picking up the magic that he has earned with his class promotion. I see Life Reboot is going to be sacking the mermaids, and we'll find the rod in there, so that will get an earth check, and that will get... Well, it looks like he's already got everything. Already got the adamant, but he'll at least get the rod, so he can go ahead and use that accordingly. All right.
There's Life Reboot's rod,
and Caleb gets his. Okay. Another relatively new change to the randomizer. You might have noticed that Caleb, when he picked up his loot, it was not called the loot, it was called the Octobase. This is another of the more recent changes to the randomizer, which introduces fun names for the loot. It can now be a number of different instruments. And not even just instruments, because I believe during the Iron Gall race yesterday, it was a poem that the loot was, and I had not seen that before, so I had no idea what it was until chat educated me on that change.
That is actually really interesting. It goes to show how much work has been put into Final Fantasy 1 randomizer.
Oh, absolutely. It's I know we were talking about it before the stream about all the changes that have been made to it. Some of them I've seen, and others I still need to dig into it a little bit. They've added a lot of things with the most recent update, including shuffling Astos around, changing the name of the loot. The classes themselves can now be blessed or cursed, along with the weapons and armor, so you can get not just weapons or armor that have bonuses or handicaps, but now you can get classes with bonuses and handicaps, which sounds terrifying And I'll let the Iron Gold folks stick to that for the time being.
That is actually one of the coolest things I've actually heard all about this new patch.
It was very interesting just to see that unfold, and it definitely affects strategy because you can get, for instance, I think I saw what did I see? It was changes to hit and vitality with the physical fighters, and I think changes to magic with the magic classes. Chat pointing out that promotions can be random as well, so yeah, it adds a lot of flavor to an already fun randomizer.
I've certainly missed out on a lot these past couple of times I've seen Randomizer run pop on the SpeedGaming channels.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in. I think some of the community is still trying to figure out just what in the world has happened to the game, I think, in some senses. But it definitely makes for some very interesting strategies. Alright, I see it. Lastoid is pillaging the chests in ice. I don't think Caleb really did that too much. I think he just grabbed his herb and got the heck out of Dodge. Meanwhile, Dang Wu has grown up, so now he has got some big strapping light warriors ready to go and equip all the big things.
One thing to point out for Elastoid, since you just mentioned it, the Power Gauntlet was in the bottom of Ice Cave in that 6 chest room.
Oh, that's a big pickup. That I don't know if any of the other runners are going to have that, and that can be hugely beneficial for, because his melee is his fighter. And so, yeah, that can be a really big deal, especially once everything is all done and dusted. I did also notice that there was an opal bracelet in ice as well, so it's definitely some really spicy treasure there.
Definitely, this is very nice stuff to find there.
Yeah. So Caleb picking up his ribbon in Sky Palace, so he now knows that Ordeals has his key, because that's literally all that's left. I suspect that Caleb is going to go ahead and, take care of business in Sky Palace while he's here, because that's the only orb he has not yet lit, and then go into Ordeals and just be able to race through that maze with access to access to warp that maybe some of the earlier checkers did not have. Let's see. Meanwhile, Life Reboot is headed toward Kraken. Dingwu just picked up his ruby from the ferry. And Elastoid is going to make his progress through Ice Cave as well. So, again, our runners are all in different spots, but all of them are certainly racing toward the inevitable objectives of getting everything lit up and ready to go.
Caleb now onto the Bridge of Destiny. And again, gone encounterless.
Apparently, one of the skills that I suppose that you have to have as a runner of this game, or if you want to be a really good runner of this game, is how to do encounter manipulation. I don't know necessarily if they intentionally did it that way, but the fact that this has happened twice kind of gives me pause, makes me wonder if they did in fact get it intentionally. So we have ourselves a Tiamat fight and had a couple of attempts at Brackstrats. Unfortunately, Caleb did not get the same sort of luck as the other attempts that we've seen already.
But a nuke is enough to take down Tiamat, and that will be Caleb's final orb lit up.
Yep. We have a first place finisher. One of our off-stream runners, Ganon's Gone Wild, finished in first place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, 52 seconds. So GG to Ganon's Gone Wild, who has placed first in this week's SpeedGaming Live Qualifier.
That name I am very much familiar with as a Link to the Past Randomizer member.
Yeah, he's come over here and he's been doing some pretty good work in Final Fantasy as well. So it's good to see folks kind of jumping, going into different communities and interacting with folks and kind of creating more links, I suppose. Speaking of Link to the Past, more links between these communities. All right.
Definitely. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say that it definitely is a nice thing to see a bunch of people coming over from different randomizers to try their hands at different experiences, different adventures, and all that.
Right, absolutely. A chat mentioning a link between randos. Yeah, that pretty much goes of it. It pretty much is how it goes. Looks like Caleb is having to pull out the warps to get through the Ordeals maze because, Ordeals can be not so fun. But he makes it to the top and he will be getting his his key rather, very quickly. Meanwhile, Elastoid is about to get his loot from the kindly elf prince who is now awakened, and I saw a level 7 fast in Gaia. So, good to know where that is. You're not going to get a whole lot of charges of it, but still good to have it nonetheless.
Caleb picked up the katana from out of the Castle of Ordeals, but more importantly, going to make his way over to that key, and he will be one of our first restream runners in Go mode.
Yeah, and I have a feeling once he gets that key, he's going to completely make some hay with. He's going to make some hay with Chaos, methinks. Meanwhile, chat contemplating that I am Chaos. No, I haven't rolled any seeds yet.
I mean, to be fair, I've already done my own Chaos just through a Link to the Past randomizer. I've been rolling a couple of seeds for them as well, which is just it's just some of those things I roll are nutty.
Yeah, I think I've only rolled one seed so far for FFR, and if I remember correctly, it was a rather kind seed. So I don't think I have earned the right to be called any sort of Chaos.
So now Dengwu is about to approach Kraken.
Well, if the seafood party pack will let him, at least. They seem to be they seem to want to kind of hold him back at least for a short time.
Okay, so we're now looking at Caleb heading into Topher. At 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 3 seconds.
Alright, so while Caleb begins his plunge into Topher, Dengwu is taking on Kraken and is going with the usual, oh dear, as the white mage goes down. But so does Kraken. So gotten some damage in before, and a nuke finally finished it off. And so Dengwu lights his third orb at about 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 30 seconds. As Elastoid takes down the vampire in the Earth Dungeon. And Elastoid picks up the adamant. And chat calling shenanigans because of no Brack. Well, I mean, I suppose Dingwu felt he had it well in hand without it. But yeah, I think he's the only runner we've seen so far to not employ Brack strats.
So now Life Reboot is about to fight up against Tiamat.
Ooh, coming into the fight with only 2 Light Warriors. That's unfortunate. But it's going to go ahead and ruse up the fighter and get temper on it. So it's very much going to be going with kind of single man or one man damage strats, which is understandable. 2 hits, 198. Not a whole lot to speak of, but definitely good to go ahead and get that fighter swinging and get some damage in, assuming that Ruse does what Ruse should be doing, which it seems to have worked pretty well because the fighter's not taking too much in the way of hits. And Tiamat goes down, so that gets Life Reboot up to level 21, 22-ish. So pretty close to some solid Topher levels. It gets that second orb lit at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and about 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the Lastoid is headed through the Earth dungeon to go after Lich, as is Dingwu, who the Lich will be his final orb to light. And Caleb is about to hit Lich too, so going ahead and going after it, going with Cake strats. Oh boy. Does not work the first time. Does Cake work the second time? No. Unfortunately. So just have to go ahead and go with the usual swings, at least at this point. But now he's going to go ahead and continue the Cake and Brack strats to see if that works. Lich is obliging, not doing too much damage. We got Harm 2 doing a little bit of work, and third Cake is ineffective. Fourth Cake is effective, and Lich 2 goes down to the Cake strats.
Excellent work from Caleb over here.
This has definitely been the seed of the Quad X's and Cakes and Zaps and all the power word spells and sort of specialty spells of the world doing some work. So it's always fun to see, definitely.
So Caleb is on carry 2.
Oh, looks like Carrie's playing nice, at least to start out with, as Dingwu employs Cake strats and other such against Lich 1, looks like. And I have a feeling Lich is going to go down awfully fast, and does. On Caleb's side of things, we have Nuke and swinging against Carrie, and Carrie too goes down relatively quickly. So good news for Caleb as he makes his way to the seafloor of Topher. Dingwu has all 4 orbs lit and is going to head into Topher shortly himself.
Meanwhile, we are seeing just Life Reboot just gonna go through this volcano, and we'll see that light up for carry pretty soon.
Yeah, it looks like Life Reboot is doing a little bit of an Agama grind as well to get levels primarily on his Black Mage and Fighter before he goes down and takes down Carry. Alright, so Dingwu enters into Temple of Fiends Revisited at about 1 hour, 12 minutes, 30 seconds. And so his dive is going to begin as we speak. Alright, meanwhile, it looks like Life Reboot's Agama grind continues, so he's going to get some very spicy levels on the fighter and black mage, and once that is completed, there will be, I suspect, very little stopping Life Reboot from being able to get in, being able to basically do whatever he wants for the rest of the seed. Meanwhile, Caleb has begun on the Kraken 2 fight and is going to be definitely taking Kraken 2 very seriously. We've got Nuke coming out for 258, Invis 2 coming out as well, and swinging with the fighter. Not a whole lot of damage. Unfortunately, the fighter went before Fast did. But Kraken 2 deciding to try to knock out the fighter. Doesn't quite, but does occasion a use of Cure 4, certainly. So Caleb is getting every... Oh, no! Oh!
That is going to leave a huge mark, though.
Yeah. Good news is, though, Caleb was able to take Kraken 2 down. That could have been disastrous. Very nearly was. But fortunately, it wasn't quite. So, Caleb, escaping by the hair on his chinny chin chin, makes his way down to the Tia 2 fight.
Just real quick, a little bit of napkin math here. Kraken 2 only had about 500 health, so real paper if you don't count the first turn Neo knockout.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was certainly a fortunate thing for Caleb that he was able to get that Kraken down as he did. So he's got the fighter fasted up against Tiamat, hits for a bit heavier with the swinging and nuke, and let's see, gonna use Lit 3. Interesting. Having a little bit of decision paralysis on a couple of his mages, but is able to get Lit 3 across. Swings with the fighter. Not a whole lot of damage. Lit 3 comes across, and Elastoid also taking down taking down Carry rather to light his second orb. I got the rooms confused for a second. Apologies. Using Quad X against Tia just to see where Tia's HP is. It's ineffective, so Tia's got more than 300 HP at this point. Coming around with Lit 2, which fortunately doesn't do much damage to the party. The fighter gets 3 hits in, still not getting a whole lot of damage, so we got a pretty beefy Tia.
Very much so. Still above 300 health. Making that zap not effective.
Yeah, so definitely I like the strats to try to get the fighter as buffed up as possible. Oh, there we go. 8 hits, 692. There goes Tia 2.
And that was just before the 116 mark.
Yeah, so Caleb is ready to go with his Chaos fight, just getting everything ready and set in place. Meanwhile, Dangwu is continuing his path down it looks like the Lich floor of the Temple of Fiends Revisited. And now Caleb is ready to have himself a chat with Chaos. So starting out, he's going to, it looks like, go with Nuke to begin with, get the fighter fasted up, get Invis 2 across, and go ahead and ruse the fighter as well. So focusing on getting everything prepared for the fighter to make some mighty swings and hopefully avoid Chaos's punching as Chaos then proceeds to try to punch the Black Mage to death. Very nearly does, but not quite. So able to get Invis on the fighter, or that was a Red Mage, I suppose, with Invis. Then continuing to try to build up the fighter, debating whether he wants to Cure 4 anybody, chooses to heal 3 instead to spread that healing about. Got another ruse on the fighter, so the ruse is the fighter is pretty much good to go as far as avoidance is concerned, because that should be 6 stacks with the 2 ruses and 2 invises. So the fighter now should pretty much be ready to begin swinging, and that is likely what's going to happen momentarily. Yep, so Lit 3 doesn't do much damage, just chip damage, but that obviously helps. Fighter swings for, looks like, a little over 300 damage. Tornado from Chaos threatens to take down a couple of the mages, but doesn't quite, fortunately. So still able to get more prep in, a little bit more nuke, trying to get everybody healed up. Fighter swings, 5 hits, 479. And GG's to Caleb, who finishes in second place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 17 minutes, 48 seconds. So GG to Caleb. And also, I must apologize because I did my first announcement forgetting that there was stream delay, so that was my bad.
No worries. GG's to Caleb, and we'll see if we can get him in for a post-race interview. And speaking of Caleb, there he is right now.
Speak of the devil. GG, Caleb.
Hey, thank you, Karan. Thank you, Professor Renderer. That was an exciting race. I was on the edge of my seat nearly that entire Topher dive.
Yeah, well, one thing that we noticed pretty quickly, or well, I say pretty quickly, but one thing that we noticed that definitely served well for you and not so well for everybody else is your usual strategy of always dive Earth.
I had a feeling that might be an advantage for me. I was a little concerned though when it ended up being the laziest awkward dwarves in the world.
I joked that it was the angry dwarves fetch left because they just took their key items and threw them into the water somewhere.
Yeah, the passive aggressive dwarves.
Exactly.
I'm not talking to him. I'm giving him the TNT. I'm giving Astos the TNT to hold on to. Yeah, when I made the decision to do early Earth because there was like a good run, and I figured Lightning 3 and Harm 2 could get me through, and if Rod was there, like that would have been awesome because Zap I felt comfortable taking out Lich with, so I was committed to that dive even with the low levels, and then when it was the roundabout floater, I was like, okay, that was best case scenario because it was either going to be canoe or floater, right? Because the only other location was Crescent Lake, and then I was like, well, hopefully Crescent Lake is not the floater, because if Crescent Lake's the floater and I'm picking up the canoe down here, everybody's going to be coming into Earth right behind me. But if Crescent Lake's the canoe, and even if this is like Chime or whatever, like everyone's going to get a little bit of a jump on me, but you know, it's worth the gamble to see what it paid out for, and getting in the air at like 25 minutes or so felt pretty good with these flags.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you saw this as a pretty exciting race. What did you think of the seed just in general?
The seed was fun. It's always fun with these zero loose and like the Masa and the ribbon in the pool, and like the ruby's the wild card. Like you may need it, you may not. So like trying to keep up with like solving the puzzle. I was like, okay, I totally forgot I needed loot and crown. I was too focused in my head of like making sure that I had the dungeon items, like the Oxyale, the Chime, the Cube, that there wasn't going to be. I was like, man, am I not even going to have to go to Ice or Ordeals? And I was like, yeah, those might be, Ice and Ordeals might be Masa and Ribbon, and I might be okay as long as I find a sword. And then I was like, I glanced at my menu, I was like, oh, I don't have a loot. Oh, crap. And I was like, well, let me go to Ice real quick. I got Warp and Exit now, so I was like, in my head, I was like, that's probably a little bit of a time save if anybody came here early, like making up some time here and there. And then I think that ended up being the loot. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe Key is in Sky and I don't have to go to Ordeals. And it was the free ribbon. So I was like, all right, well, it's either going to be Slab or Key in Ordeals. And I hope it's just Key because that puts Slab in the armory, and I'm not going to chase down the Masa when I had that free Vorpal, I think, from the Mermaid floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was my first time doing one of these seeds without digging up the Masa, and Vorpal did well for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely the Masa being incentivized, certainly, you know, you had people chasing it, but like you said, the Vorpal did some pretty good work for you. And I mean, because the magic worked out decently, although not super great.
It's why I took as many fights as I did, because all of the good stuff was like level 5+. So I was like, well, I'm just going to take every fight that I can in Sky, Sea, and on the overworld between those locations, because I need the XP to get at least 3 fast charges.
Yeah.
So
All right, so we have on screen Dingwu taking on Chaos, and it looks like Dingwu is going to pretty much do the same strategy effectively against Chaos that you did, getting the fighter all trained up and ready to go. Chaos with a rub that doesn't work. You had Ruse on the Red Mage, and then Invis. Going to get more Invises from the Red Mage, and then Ruse from the White Mage. You get Tempers on the fighter, and the fighter is going to start swinging. 4 hits, not much damage, I don't think. I think that was less than 100. But still getting all those avoidance stacks on the first 2 mages, so a swingy Chaos is not going to be able to do a whole heck of a lot to those first 2 party members. Continuing to get Invis, Fade, swinging with the fighter, tempering with the Black Mage. So probably going to get some more damage on the fighter as well, which obviously is going to be helpful. And 5 hits, I think a couple hundred damage on that. Chaos coming out with Lit 2, which doesn't do much. Fade doing about, I think, 150 or thereabouts. Now we have Nuke, Fade, Swing, and Temper. So trying to pour out just as much damage as those mages can handle. Fade goes for about 150. The Sword, though, goes for about 900 and takes down Chaos, and Dingwu finishes in 4th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 24 minutes, 8 seconds. Ailmarkin had finished off stream in 3rd place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 34 seconds. So GG to both Dingwu on stream and Ailmarkin off in the ether. Meanwhile, Life Reboot is also in Temple of Fiends Revisited and is making his way through the Carrie floor. Will be taking down Carrie herself soon enough. And Elastoid is making his way to the Kraken fight in the Sea Shrine, so he's about to light his 3rd orb. So we have Kraken on screen for Elastoid and Carrie on screen for Life Reboot. Goes for Brack strats. First time is ineffective, second time is ineffective. 3rd time is also ineffective, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Life Reboot is trying to get the fighter and ninja good to go against Carrie, and knocks out Carrie with a nice big hit from the fighter. Meanwhile, Brack strats on Elastoid's side unfortunately aren't working out as well as they did on other streams. So, I believe that was oh dear, Blaze doing some bad work to Elastoid's Light Warriors, unfortunately. So probably going to have to go with more fighter-centric strats. But still trying that Brack, so definitely not afraid to keep on pushing for the quick kill. Brack again is ineffective. The Red Mage goes down, and now it's just mono-y-mono, the fighter and Kraken. Kraken and the fighter. See who comes out on top. And no. Oh.
Damn.
Yeah.
That hurts.
See a wipe like that.
That hurts.
Down for the counts, Elastoid needs to go through the Sea Shrine in order to get over to that Kraken fight again.
Yeah.
He's got to clear the mermaid side to get to that rod again too. Because he had to give the lady the Oxyale again.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, that feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you definitely hate to see, when you're watching these streams, is to see a runner just get kind of bodied like that as far as Elastoid was concerned. Yeah. That was just some really bad Brack luck, though. I don't know how many he did. It was somewhere around, 10 attempts at it, and it just didn't go?
That feels bad. I think I got lucky with Kraken. I think I got first turn Brack. I wasn't even ready to hit my split, and I was surprised by that. So that's the thing with the battle RNG in this game, is you can do all the prep in the world, and best runners against anybody else, battle RNG can go the other way.
Yeah, it's I know we've seen some really just nasty luck with the Brack strats before, so it's always unfortunate to see, though. So Elastoid is heading back toward Kraken 1, and Life Reboot is taking on Kraken 2, and takes down Kraken 2 with the Black Mage on the carpet, unfortunately. But good news is he does have the Life 2 to be able to get the Black Mage back up off the carpet. So we will now see him make his way toward the Tia 2 fight after he gets everybody all prepped and ready. And Elmarkin mentioning in chat, doesn't think he even picked up Brack. So no Brack strats for Elmarkin, and still did very well regardless. So GG Elmarkin, since you're in chat now, so we can say it again.
Life Reboot is on Tiamat 2.
And is getting everybody prepped up as far as avoidance. Has the ninja up top taking the hits, and is going to continue trying to get everybody ready as far as temper and strength is concerned. And Tia is trying to body straight through the shenanigans that Life Reboot has set up, but wasn't quite able to do so. Alright, so the ninja is swinging and doing a teensy bit of damage, but most of the damage, of course, is focused on the fighter at this point. So you have some big hits from the fighter going on. Tia is probably going to go down, and does go down with that last hit. And so Life Reboot is about to head on to the Chaos fight after hopefully getting away from some rock dolls. And does. So Life Reboot is now onto the Chaos floor himself, and is going to pick that ninja up, mostly to serve as basically as a meat shield at this point. And just getting those last preparations in line before talking with the almighty time warping overlord himself.
Let's go and break this time loop again for the third time in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Poor Chaos is just a punching bag at this point.
Yeah,
All
Chaos
right.
did not have a whole lot of HP.
Yeah, it seemed like it was mostly just a question of getting everything prepared, really. Once you got that all locked in, it was pretty much good to go from there.
Yeah.
So, looks like Life Reboot is trying to pour all of his avoidance on and pour all of his strength onto the fighter before he goes swinging at Chaos. Obviously a good preparatory move. Chaos dumping some Lit 2. Actually, the ninja's doing some work. Has gotten in about, I think, 250 damage points so far with that katana. So, nice, kind of not quite chip damage exactly, but still nice extra damage to toss on there. And then you get the fighter swinging for the big numbers. Yeah, that katana's doing some work with the crits. Tornado coming across, taking out the Black Mage, unfortunately. But the good news is, we've still got, at least some chip damage that can come from the White Mage, or from the Red Mage rather, and a little bit more from the katana, and big hit from the fighter, and Life Reboot is finished. GG to Life Reboot, who finishes in 5th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 20 seconds.
Hey, GG, Life Reboot. That's awesome.
GG's to Life Reboot indeed. Speaking of Life Reboot, here he is right now. GG's.
GG, Life Reboot.
Your mic is muted.
Yeah, your mic's muted.
Forgive me. GG, everyone. Thank you.
GG.
GG, man.
GG, no worries. So what did you think about the seed in general?
This seed was incredibly rough for me, especially early game. Couldn't figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and everything seemed super expensive. The spells were not great. The tail was expensive. I didn't need it, but I wanted the experience bonus to get it. So I was really struggling early game, and I just don't know. I'm averaging 115 in all my practices, but I can't seem to get down that time for any of the real races. It's frustrating.
Yeah, that's one of those things that it's. I mean, it doesn't really matter how much you practice. It somehow the race always finds a way to be weird or trolly or something like that. It always finds a way to throw a wrench into the works.
Yeah, I think the only real adversity I saw in the early game were giants with nuke outside Crescent Lake. Like they wiped me pretty far back. Like I was walking to Crescent Lake to get the sage item, and I hadn't saved since I was by the dwarf cave, and it knocked me all the way back there. But that was not a welcome surprise.
Yeah, that I think I missed the giants with nuke. So holy mackerel. Yeah, I don't know how I would have responded to something like that.
It made me feel incredibly lucky that I did not see them in either of my earth dives.
Yeah, they were guarding the Earth incentive chests pretty well, and just because I had darted around so much, I thought, okay, the only way that I can put up a decent time at this point is if maybe Floater is behind the Earth incentive, and I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I lost so much time in the early game, just trying to get warp charges and things like that, that it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I was in the same boat when I was trying to, because I didn't want to go into Waterfall without an exit charge, and I needed like one level on my white mage, and it felt like forever. Like I was trying to fish up fights outside Onrak, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice doing that ice cave and Waterfall, and even ordeals with plenty of exits and warps.
I did not bring a white mage, so I did not have exit.
Oh, that feels bad. I've really liked Fighter Rainbow in these flags. It's a very safe party, but if like there's a low level like nuke or fade, like it can be not as fast than like the Fighter double red black or the Fighter red double black.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Fighter Rainbow, and I've done it. I can't let go of the Thief because these encounter rates are so high, so I tend to lean into the Thief for these flags.
Yeah, I just lean into taking fights. You know, I'll just take the fights to get early game money from the early game enemies and late game levels. You know, I don't think I ran from too many fights here.
Well, I was going to say, you both did really well, so GG's to both of you. I think one of the things that was really problematic for, I would say probably everybody in the seed, at least to some degree or another, was the fact that apparently all of your magic was at level 5.
Yeah.
I mean, because you had both of your travel, you had both warp and exit, you had life 2 at level 5, and it was just... I mean, when we saw that on stream, we were all floored, because then obviously it became a question of, okay, so what spells do you use again, and which ones do you choose for specific instances, and how are you going to prioritize it doing any sort of Topher dives? It was not so fun.
Yeah, that was my problem. My hubris got the best of me on the Kraken floor, and my fighter got rubbed by sea snakes, and then the 3 steps later I took a fight, and it was the Wisahag Gersharks, and I hadn't rezzed my fighter, and everybody was a little bit hurt from the previous fight, and then the Wisahags just beat up my red mage. They continued pummeling the white mage and the black mage, and I was just firing fades and nukes to try to get out of the fight, and ended up blowing through so many fades and nukes that I had to be pretty careful with how I spent my life charges, and it was pretty harrowing there in the final run for me.
Yeah, that was, oh boy, it was. I think Tia, I think Kraken 2 was pretty bad to you, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think I escaped Kraken 2 with 120 HP spread across 3 light warriors.
Yeah. That was that grew some hair on your chest, I think.
Yeah, the glass cannon percents where like you can squeak through these flags with like a level 20 party probably, if you get lucky. But
Yeah.
like they're either like squishy with nasty skills, or they're real tough and they're like high absorb, high evade, and they have like, but then they just have like silly spells like Lit 2 and Fire 3 and stuff that you can kind of prepare for.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem to be either one or the other. There's not really much in between. All right, well, on Elastoid's side, we have him going through the Temple of Fiends Revisited, and is unfortunately experiencing not so fun times with Grey Worms with Cremate, or at least in terms of chip damage anyway. But is able to push through it, and is making his way through the rest of the carry floor. And it is also worth noting that Dark Moon EX is finished in 6th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 51 seconds. So GG to Dark Moon, who is not on stream, but GG nonetheless.
GG's to Dark Moon EX, indeed.
Yeah, GG Dark Moon.
And coming in 26 seconds later is Jay Coper, finishing in 7th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 17 seconds. So about as close of an interval as you can get. All right, meanwhile, on Elastoid's side, he's taking down Carry 2, making his way onto the ocean floor. And unfortunately, the Wiz-Sahags that you were mentioning being problematic before are trying to be problematic to him now. Able to get away, though, fortunately. So, I don't know what it is about the seafloor, but I guess because you have to travel so far on it, vis-a-vis any of the other Fiend floors, it just has so much potential to cause so much trouble.
Yeah, and I hate how I route on it, because like I'm always like missing like the free tiles along the bottom of that big sea room, or when you come back in, like it's so awkward, and there's so many nasty fights on that floor that I don't think the smallest pack is Gur Sharks and Big Eyes, and that can have like 2,000 HP in a 4-pack.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky, but Elastoid made it through the Kraken fight with pretty much great deal of panache, so making his way over to the Tia 2 fight, and is employing, let's see, it looks like we've got Brack Strats, it was Brack Strats to begin with. Instead, we've got Nuke, and going to fast up the fighter, just essentially getting the power ready to go, as all the other runners have done. Of course, the difference is Elastoid has the power bracelet, which I don't think anybody else found.
That would have been.
I did not find it. Where was that?
That would have been a lovely addition to my fighter kit.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't quite remember, so I'm going to pan back up on notes and see if it's listed. Let's see. The power bonk was, it was in the 6-pack of the Bottom of Ice.
Oh, yeah, there's no way I was going down there.
Yeah, you were just going for the incentive chests and nothing else. It was just speedy Caleb.
I opened some boxes.
Yeah, true.
I saw on my stream thing, I think I did 60 boxes, which basically was like Titans, Mermaid Floor, the 2 free on the way to Kraken, a couple in Marsh. Yeah, I don't know how I opened 60 boxes.
We did notice that you did do Titans, and you won the hearts of the people by checking Titan's Trove, even though it wasn't incentivized. It was.
I mean, if there was like a power or a pro ring or a gold bracelet there, because like by that time I had done Cardia, so that was where I did a lot of boxes. Because Cardia was super kind to me with the free ribbon, and then I think I got a gold bracelet out of there and the black shirt, and I was like, yeah, like it paid out really well.
Yeah, we did notice that free ribbon there. It was quite something. All right, so on Elastoid's side, we got the fighter powered up and had Nuke coming out from the black mage. The red mages are serving as basically the meat shield, and a final Nuke does it, and Elastoid finishes 8th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour 43 minutes and 8 seconds. So, GG Elastoid.
GG's to Elastoid.
All right, so that does it for all of our runners. All of our on-stream runners have finished, and the only runner that we didn't report on as far as the full seed was Sonirath, who unfortunately had to step away from the race, so was not able to log a finish this evening. But that obviously is not the end of the world for the SGLIVE qualifiers, because you have to complete at least 3 and maximum of 5, so there's definitely plenty of opportunities for Sonirath to get some more finishes in. And we are joined in chat by Elastoid, so GG Elastoid.
Yeah, most of the time if I finish last, I'm going to feel bad, but I actually don't feel bad about the way I played that seed. I just think my route and the seed did not match at all.
GG Elastoid.
Elastoid.
Yeah, thank you. And GG, well, basically everybody, because everybody finished ahead of me. GG to everybody, though.
Hey, I will say Elastoid, from somebody who has finished right at the bottom of most of the races that I've done, I don't worry. I understand kind of that feeling when you're looking up and everybody else is sitting there high-fiving and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not done yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a feeling I relish, and it's not one that I like. I'm not going to be in this spot a whole lot. It frustrates me because it means that I have to run 5 seeds now instead of 3. But yeah, like anytime that the floater, well, anytime the floater is in Earth and there's no rod or availability of warp or exit, I will probably finish last. If all of those conditions are met, I will finish last. So I got one of those seeds.
It's funny because it's like, in those conditions, I will thrive.
Okay. Well, great,
yeah.
and you did.
Yeah.
And also, anytime you brack Kraken, like I had to have bracked Kraken like 15 times without over the course of those 2 fights without it ever working. Like Kraken just didn't feel like turning to stone this time. So
yeah, we were trying to remember how many times that Brack just deserted you on that fight. It was really unfortunate to watch because Kraken was just taking down your fighters, and you were continuing to push forward. So definitely full points for sticking it out, because oh my heavens, that was just something else.
Yeah, at the point where everybody's finishing, and I'm looking at redoing, because I didn't save in between grabbing the rod and going for Kraken, because I was like, well, I've got 3 Brackcasters, why would I need to worry? So in between, I didn't save, so I was like, oh man, I have to go back up to Mermaids too, and it was tempting to forfeit, but I figured I'd play it out for the stream.
Yeah, well, definitely GG's on sticking it out. It's those sorts of things. I mean, the persistence is definitely, it may not be pretty, but it's definitely good to have as somebody who has run a 4-hour seed myself. Oh boy. Persistence is definitely appreciated, so I can certainly vouch for that. So GG's, and good job sticking it out and finishing what was not the most pleasant of seeds, certainly, especially from a routing standpoint.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and GG to everybody else who well, everybody else who was in this seed, and congratulations, Caleb. I'm super glad that for your last qualifying race, you got something like you got something that you really wanted. So
Thanks, man. I'm sorry it didn't break your way. But
I didn't rack my way.
hey, picking up what I'm putting down. Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Elastoid.
And no worries. I mean, I've got other races, and you won't be in them, so I'm more likely to succeed.
All right. Well, go ahead. Sorry, Caleb. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was gonna be just gonna tease Elastoid and say that my second score wasn't that good. So
Yeah,
But,
well,
I-
I was there.
yeah, I really don't want to race 2 more of these. I feel like I got lucky in my first race, and then second race was pretty okay. It was a pretty linear seat. Everybody kind of finished clustered up, so the points were pretty kind. And then this seed, yeah, like you said, Elastoid, it just kind of fell my way. So
Well, I'm glad that you're in good shape, and I've still got 4 more races to try to get into good shape. So, GG for sure.
thank you.
All right. Well, I guess we can go to any to get final thoughts. Last way, we'll start with you. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
Oh yeah, well, big thank you to SpeedGaming for hosting and for putting this together. Big thank you to Courant and Professor Renderer for commentary, and thank you to whoever's tracking, which I didn't take the time to figure out. Anybody who's interested in this should absolutely join the FFR Discord. Thank you, Courant. Should absolutely join the FFR Discord and take a look at the community. There's a lot of people willing to help, and they'll teach you how to play this game.
Yeah, certainly. Life Reboot, do you have any final thoughts for us?
I'll echo the sentiments. Thank you very much to the race crew, all the volunteers to make this possible. These flags are really teaching me that I need to work on my early game. This is my 4th race in the SpeedGaming Live qualifiers, and I've really underperformed in all of them. I need to kind of square that away. That early game is really killing me. So I'm looking forward to the 5th race sometime soon. Hopefully I can shape that up.
Alrighty. Well, Caleb, do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
I shared most of my thoughts on the seed. I just want to, echo the sentiments of everybody that's already gone. Thank you, Courant. Thank you, Professor Render, for stepping up to the broadcast and giving the other folks the opportunity to run in the seed. It's always a blast hearing you guys do commentary. Maybe I'll join you in the booth for the next qualifier because I'm done with them. I'm not doing these things anymore. So thank you again. Thank you, SpeedGaming Live. This is a lot of fun. Like Elastoid said, come hang out with us on the Discord. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. Fall League just kicked off. It's a pretty exciting time.
I'm sorry, there's one more thing that Danny's sort of subtly pointing out. The tournament signups are still up. There's still enough races that somebody could join some qualifiers and get in. So she put a link in the chat right there, and anybody who's interested in they can jump in right now. You can have your first seed ever be a qualifier if you like.
Yeah,
make it happen.
Go hard, go home. I think the next one's on next Friday. At 10 o'clock?
I think it's next Saturday.
Oh.
I believe it's next Saturday, but folks who have the calendars in front of them know that a lot better.
It's going to be on Friday the is that
9th?
right? The 9th? Yeah, Friday the 9th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
So even better, you've got almost a full week and a half to get on the Discord, get some races in, get some practice in. I'll be more than happy to race with folks during the day. That's what I do. So it's fun.
Yeah, the more the merrier, definitely, with a tournament like this. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And it's been a lot of fun commentating tonight. I will also echo the thanks to the folks at SpeedGaming for putting up with us in their channel tonight, and to my co-com, Professor Renderer, and to Tracker, Shadowed Flames, who kept our heads on straight the whole time. So thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed the Final Fantasy Randomizer Road to SpeedGaming Live 2020 qualifier event. And Professor, do you want to take us out tonight?
Yeah, I'll gladly do so. Thank you guys for watching this, and take it easy, everybody.